It has been a sweltering summer for people right across the country with heat waves and above average temperatures. But extreme heat hasn't been confined to just Canada. Copernicus, the European Climate Monitoring Service, just released its latest data. CBC's international climate correspondent Susan Ormiston joins us now live in studio with more on this story. So let's talk about this report, Susan. What does it find?
Well, you know, after last year, 2023, which was the hottest year on record, a lot of people wondered whether this would continue or whether we would see a little dip. Well, the data that's released this morning by Copernicus says that globally it was the hottest summer ever from June to August, something that is obvious to some people, but the data confirms this, that the trend last year was not an anomaly. The trend is still going up. I spoke to the senior scientist.
August 2024 was the warmest August on record, on par with August 2023. So we are still at record level of global average temperature. And this has been the case for more than a year now, out of 14 months. So according to our data, 13 months were the warmest on record.
So the other thing is that the data shows that we have now met or exceeded the 1.5 degrees of warming that has been a threshold in the Paris Agreement that we should not be breaching. And for the last 13 months, we have breached that. It doesn't mean that that's dead, but we're getting very close, according to scientists, to breaking that.
Okay, so speaking of the scientists, what are they saying about why the temperatures are so high for so long?
Well, in part, it's El Nino, which we experienced last year, a very strong El Nino. That's a weather pattern which drove temperatures up. But also, it left a lot of warmth in our world, so especially the sea. So the sea surface temperatures are still unusually, abnormally high, on average about 20.1 degrees Celsius on average for our seas. So it's 70% of the Earth. So they're giving off a lot of heat still. So that's in part why we're seeing it, even though El Nino seems to be passing through our system. And here's the senior scientist once more.
First, it's a warning that urgent action is needed. It's also a sign that as the climate continues to warm, as we reach this global temperature record, we expect more frequent and more intense extreme climate events, whether it's heat wave, extreme precipitation event, or other climate events, with consequences for a lot of populations around the world.
Natasha, Copernicus also tracks wildfires in this country and around the world. And what we're seeing again, although it seems it's not as severe in this country, the carbon that's being emitted from wildfires in Canada and some other parts of the world is releasing vast amounts of carbon. Not as much as last summer, but very near to that. And they actually had an animation, I think we have it, which is quite interesting. You can see at the top of the map there, Canada on the left, and that dark orange, that's smoke. And the smoke is being generated by wildfires in Western Canada and in the north, and there you see it. And it traveled across the Atlantic Ocean all the way to Europe. You can see that quite clearly. So this is what's happened over our summer of wildfires. Brazil also saw a lot of wildfires in a very sensitive region. So they're keeping an eye on that as well.
Okay, really troubling, interesting stuff. Susan Ormiston, our senior international climate correspondent, thank you so much.
You're welcome.